Hello there, welcome to our channel Trendy Movie Recap. Our channel gives you movie briefs while capturing the moral of the movie storyline. Please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to be notified every time we post a video in future. This is a video of a movie titled Marine 2. The movie starts with an American Marine by the name Joe assigned to eliminate one Alhaj, who is a leader of an arms-selling gang in the Middle East. Joe with another Marine are seen on rooftop of a house waiting for their target to appear where the gang is parking arms. As they lay on the roof and wait for their target, a young boy comes to the rooftop and they get startled. They turn fast, aiming their cocked guns to him only to realize he is just an innocent boy. They give him a silent sign and he give it back as an assurance he wouldn't tell anybody of their existence. They continue with their wait. Their target appears and Joe with the precision of a sniper shoots him. Heavy fire is directed to them by the Alhaj's gang as they take cover. The young boy is hit. They try to help him, but he is already dead. They leave the rooftop under heavy gunfire from the gang, who are shooting from the ground. They go back to their base having accomplished their assignment. Joe calls his young wife Robin on Skype and tells her he is taking a short vacation, and he will join her. The wife is very excited to hear that. She tells him they would go together to a hotel opening ceremony. The hotel belongs to her boss, and she is the one organizing the ceremony. So when the boyfriend came home, they took a plane to the island, where the beach resort opening ceremony was. From the airport, they are taken by a jeep to the resort. The resort receptionist welcomes them warmly. They later leave the hotel and go to enjoy themselves at the beach. As they relax at the beach, Robin's boss Mr. Connor and his bodyguard finds them, and the Robin introduces them to each other. The boss calls Robin aside and complains to her that he is getting so many calls and interview requests from reporters, and he is not happy about it. Robin promises to handle the situation. They leave the couple alone and Robin follows the boss, leaving Joe alone, promising him she would be back as soon as possible. Later that day, Joe and his wife go to hire a boat to take them for an ocean tour, but they find the place closed. They find one of the attendant reading a paper, and after telling him to help fellow Americans, he agrees to take them for the tour with his boat. They also hire deep-sea swimming gears. As Joe charts with the attendant, he realizes he is a retired Marine. The attendant tells him his name is Church. They take the boat and head to the ocean. They see very beautiful sceneries. The ex-Marine shows them a cave that leads to the hotel, and he leaves them swimming. They swim deep in the ocean, and when they come out of the deep, they lie down at the beach, and they take their sweet time together. They take the cave route and within a few minutes, they find themselves in the resort. In the evening, they meet with Connor, who quarrels Joe's wife for reporters mishandling one of the largest shareholder of the company. The lady apologizes, but Joe is offended by his wife's boss and confronts him. The wife calms Joe down and explains to her boss that reporters keep bothering him because he does not do what she recommends to him. She tells him he should give the reporters only 20 minutes to answer their questions. She tells him it is now time to address the visitors who had come for the ceremony. She welcomes her boss, Mr. Connor, to address the visitors. Mr. Connor takes the podium and start addressing the visitors. Joe leaves as Connor starts giving his speech. He finds the ex-Marine, who is testing some firecrackers to be blown at the ceremony. They start talking and Joe tells him how they had a misunderstanding with Mr. Connor earlier. As the visitors toss to a great resort, the ex-Marine lights the firecrackers, and they begin to crack. As the firework blows, some heavy artillery gun fire is shot at the hotel. A terrorist group has attacked the hotel, shooting the guards and blowing up some of the buildings. Joe takes cover beside a dead guard. The visitors are running helter-skelter. He gets an opportunity to kill some few terrorists who pass by where he is taking cover. The terrorists reach the arena. They are on face masks. Their leader gets to Connor and grates him. Joe continues to kill the terrorist, and he gets a gun from one of them. As he aims to shoot the terrorist leader who is talking to Connor, the terrorist holds Connor as shield. Another terrorist hits Joe, and he drops the gun. They wrestle and both fall down the stairs. Joe's wife screams as she sees Joe and the terrorist fall. The ex-Marine finds the injured Joe and takes him to safety. When Joe wakes up, he asks the ex-Marine whether his wife's still inside the hotel. He finds himself amidst the local army, and ex-Marine assures him everything is all right. A gentleman comes running to where Joe is and shouts that there are breaking news on the TV. They all go to watch the news. The news say that 20 people have been kidnapped at the beach resort. A video of the kidnapped people is shown on the TV. Joe sees his wife among the kidnapped with her hand tightly tied with a rope. The video says that all the hostages will be killed within 24 hours if ransom is not paid. The video shows the terrorist kill Connor's bodyguard by cutting his neck with a machete. Joe tells the ex-Marine to help him go to the hotel and get his wife. The ex-Marine tells him it is the army job to go and save the hostages. The ex-Marine refuses and tells him he was never a hero even when he was a Marine. Joe is devastated. Back at the hotel, the hostages are badly treated and threatened. Mrs. Joe pleads with them not to hurt anybody. She tells them they cannot recognize them, and so they should not threaten anybody. The terrorist leader removes his mask. He signals to the others to also remove their masks, and they all do so. The terrorists remove Connor from the rest of the hostages. The army realizes that after the broadcast, there is no more hiding the matter. They plan on how to invade the hotel and save the hostages. As the army is planning, Mr. McKill Shaw joins them. He introduces himself as the diplomatic advisor to the government. He brings with him the blueprints to the resort showing the entire layout of the hotel. The army commander studies the blueprint. He says there is a perimeter wall around the hotel. He says they cannot attack until they know more about the terrorists. Joe joins them and asks who is in charge. The army commander tells him not to come closer and tells him the matter is off limit. Joe refuses to leave and tells the commander that somebody got to talk to him. The army men cock the guns ready to shoot him, but Mr. McKill, the diplomatic advisor, intervenes. He calls Joe aside and tells him dealing with military is like one going through a brick wall. Joe tells him he works with the Connor security. Joe asks him what is being done about the hostages. McKill tells him he cannot discuss the details with him. Meanwhile, the terrorists force Connor make a phone call and ask for the ransom, which he does. He reminds them if they kill him they wouldn't have a dime. They take him back to the other hostages. The terrorists are happy that things are working according to plan. Mr. McKill tells Joe that this episode is a political disaster. He says he is the one who convinced his government to allow Connor put up the beach resort. He says it is sad he is the one to negotiate for the release of the hostages. He tells Joe the government is hesitant to send the military to the hotel to avoid casualties. Mercenaries arrive in several jeeps. Mr. McKill has hired them to try and save the hostages. Mr. McKill meets their leader for the briefing. They tell Joe to leave the job to them. Joe tells them he would go to the hotel with or without them. One of mercenaries tells Joe that if he sees him at the hotel he would consider him as an enemy and shoot him. The mercenaries move to hotel. They find the terrorists have guarded the hotel very well. As they struggling to eliminate one of the terrorists guarding the hotel, Joe appears though unarmed. He asks the mercenary leader to allow him shoot the guard. He is handed over the gun, and with the precision of a trained sniper he eliminates the guard. The mercenary leader is very impressed. He gives him a gun and assigns him to team up with one of the mercenaries. There are some communications among the terrorists, and Joe's wife asks one of the hostages who understands the language of the terrorist what they are saying. The hostage tells her that they are saying that there are some intruders attacking them. Team 1 approaches the hotel under the cover of water. They call Team 2 but the team does not respond. They find Team 2 bodies all shot from behind. Joe sees one of the terrorists closing on them and shoots him. Hell breaks loose. They receive heavy fire from all sides. Shooting intensifies and Team 2 is also overwhelmed. The shooting is going on near the hostages, and they get very scared. Joe and the mercenaries leader take cover from the heavy fire from the terrorists. The mercenary is hit. A grenade is thrown at them, and Joe returns it to the terrorists before it detonates. A terrorist is blown apart by the grenade. As more grenades are thrown at them, they leave the location under the cover of smoke. All the terrorists are after them, and they keep moving under heavy fire. They find a jeep. They hop in and drive away under heavy fire. The jeep hits a wall, and they disembark and run away. Meanwhile, one of the terrorists is very annoyed with the attack. He wants to kill the hostages, but the terrorist leader prevails over him not to do so. The army is not happy with Mr. McKill for hiring the mercenaries. They tell him he has compromised the whole operation. One of the terrorists is hysterical and uncontrollable. Their leader tries to calm him. He tells his boss that the American meaning Joe is helping the attackers. Joe's wife is all ears and now knows her husband is still alive. She cries in happiness. Connor comforts her. Meanwhile, the agitated terrorist tells his boss that they have to kill all the hostages to make a statement. He tells him they will kill them after they get the ransom. Meanwhile, Joe and one of the injured mercenary have managed to reach a safety area. The mercenary is getting treatment to his injury. He gives his gun to Joe and tells him to deliver a message, Mr. McKill. The terrorists enter the hostages' room. They pick on Joe's wife. They tell her they will revenge for their men who have been killed by the mercenaries. She is very annoyed and hits one of the terrorists. She tells them they have killed so many innocent people. As they push her outside to execute her, Mr. Connor tells them to stop. He reminds them they would get the ransom only if they don't harm any of the hostages. Mr. Connor is very mad. He grabs one of the terrorists and tries to strangle him to death. The other terrorists try hard to rescue him from Connor. They hit Connor hard. The terrorists' leader is so pissed off with Connor. He cocks his gun, puts it on Connor's head. He doesn't shoot him because he has not received the ransom yet. He tells him to enjoy the moment and reminds him there will come a time when he will be more useful to them dead than alive. One terrorist continues to hit Connor, who is still on the ground. The terrorist leader looks at Joe's wife with a mixed reaction and leaves the room. The other terrorists follow him, leaving the hostages alone. Joe goes to see the ex-Marine. He tells him he needs his help to go and rescue the hostages. He asks Joe if he really wants to go back there. Joe tells him he doesn't have a choice. Somebody got to help these people, he tells Church. The ex-Marine tells him he has a death wish. He takes him to his office. He brings Joe a box full of different kinds of ammunitions. He tells him to take all he needs. As he packs the ammunitions in a leather bag, Joe pleads with him to assist him, but he refuses. Church tells Joe that not everybody can be hero, but Joe is so determined. He borrows him his boat. Church opens a drawer and hands him the boat keys. He grabs his bag full of arms, and as he leaves the room, Church tells him to wait. Church takes him back to the hotel cave route and wishes him good luck in his rescue mission as he lights a cigar. Joe follows the cave route to the hotel. He uses the vegetation around the hotel to take cover as he hides from the guarding terrorists. He keenly watches the guards from where he is taking cover and studies their movements. He enters into a pool of water and swims deep, moving closer to the hotel. He is determined to kill the guards one by one. Under the cover of the water, he swims toward a footbridge where one of the guards is guarding. The guard hears some movement under the bridge and he moves to check. Joe pulls him in the water and kills him with a sword. Joe moves on under the water. He jumps out of the water and puts in the bug some of the fireworks the ex-army had left at the hotel. As trained Marine, he gains ground to the hotel by using available cover to avoid the guards. He manages to enter the hotel despite the many guards guarding the hotel. Meanwhile, the army is still studying the blueprint of the hotel. They blame Mr. McKill for hiring the mercenary to attack the terrorists. The terrorists find one of their guards' body in the water. They suspect there is somebody on the grounds who has killed him. One of the hostages who understands the terrorist language tells the hostages what the terrorists saying. She tells them that they already have lost one guard and are suspecting an American is responsible. Joe's wife is convinced it must be her husband. Joe studies the blueprint of the hotel. From the hotel, he uses the binoculars to see the position of the guarding terrorists. The leader of the terrorists hands one of them a bag. Joe watches them from the building with his binoculars and wonders where the terrorist is going with the bag. Joe hears some terrorist talking in the next room. He peeps from the door and sees the terrorist who took a bag from his boss. He and his colleague are planting bombs in the room. Joe slowly opens the door, kicks one of them as he throws a knife to the other one, killing him instantly. He kicks the other and he becomes unconscious. He ties him up and takes him to the laundry room where he starts interrogating him. He tells him to disclose the location of the hostages. He refuses to talk. Joe burns the terrorist's hand with the laundry iron box. The terrorist refuses to talk. Joe burns the hand once more, but he still refuses to disclose the hostages' location. Then Joe threatened to burn his head, and the terrorist talks. Joe bangs the terrorist's head on the laundry iron. He takes the rifle, and as he aims at him, other terrorists enter the room and shoots at Joe, but he ducks. The terrorists shoot at Joe. He enters the boiler room, which has no exit route. The terrorists' leader confronts the terrorist who was being interrogated by Joe. He tells he has betrayed the group and shoots him. Shooting intensifies in the boiler room. The terrorist leader goes to Mr. Connor. He tells him they have kept their word and have not harmed anyone. He asks him to authorize transfer of the ransom money, which he does on phone. Meanwhile, Joe is subdued. The terrorists interrogate him, suspending him on a metal bar with his hand handcuffed. He is interrogated in front of his wife. Mr. McKill, who has come to negotiate with the terrorists, is also handcuffed. A bomb is put on his chest and detonated. The hostages are removed from the room. The terrorists also leave the room, and one of them is told to finish Joe. The hostages are tied next to set bombs, each at a separate location. Instead of the terrorist shooting Joe, he decides to use a knife. As he tries to pierce his stomach with the knife, Joe ducks and he kicks the terrorist hard. Joe manages to get the terrorist's knife, and he stabs him to death. He struggles to free himself from the handcuffs. He can see the handcuff keys with the dead terrorist, but he can reach them. With all his might, he pulls his hand through the handcuff, and the hand slips through despite a serious injury on the hand. He picks the keys and opens the other handcuff. The terrorist leader takes Joe's wife with him. Meanwhile, Joe attacks the terrorists left behind and start killing them. One of the terrorists manages to subdue Joe due to his injured hand. The terrorist picks a gun, and as he aims to shoot Joe, he is shot from behind. The ex-Marine has shot the terrorist just at the nick of time. Meanwhile, the terrorist leader is trying to communicate with the terrorists inside, asking if all the terrorists have been secured, but he is not getting any answer. Joe and the ex-Marine untie all the hostages. The terrorist leader sends back 2 of his guards with instructions to kill them all. As Joe's wife pleads with them not to kill the hostages, she is slapped hard by the terrorist leader. The ex-Marine is busy evacuating the hostages before the bombs are detonated. As the 2 terrorists come back into the building, they are waylaid by the ex-Marine and Mr. Connor, who kills them. All hostages manage to leave the building before the terrorist leader detonates the bomb. Joe is in pursuit of the terrorist leader, who is having his wife. The terrorist is using the cave route. He detonates bomb planted at the cave route in order to kill Joe. The stones fall on Joe, but he manages to survive. The terrorist leader takes Joe's wife to a boat. He sees Joe coming fast and decides to eliminate him. They meet on a bridge and they fight. They fight for a long time. Joe is thoroughly beaten. He runs toward the boat where the wife is. The terrorist is in hot pursuit, trying to shoot Joe. On top of the boat, the terrorist drops the gun, and they have a physical combat. The terrorist is very good in physical combat. Joe falls down, breaking the timbers, and underneath he sees his wife, who is in cage. A tank containing some fuel fall, and the fuel spills all over the boat. As the terrorists come to finish Joe, who cannot move because he is trapped by the timber, Joe manages to get some timber and stabs the terrorist with it. He enters the boat and removes the wife from the cage. The injured terrorist come for him, but Joe is more powerful and is able to release himself from the terrorist hands. The terrorist goes for the gun and shoots igniting fire as Joe and the wife jump in the ocean and swim to safety. Please subscribe to our channel for more of such videos, share our videos, and leave a comment on the comment section.